An elder, a veteran, and a hunter of the highest skill. Ahab, the Yautja that became the engineer hunter. A scarred and battered body, Ahab had traversed many worlds, taken part in many hunts. The scars he wore with pride, and the trophies he gathered from the deadliest of prey, a sign of his skill and prowess. Progressing through the ranks of the Yautja and ascending to Elder, he set his sights on the most dangerous hunt of all, the Engineers. In the Caus Borealis system, Ahab would be blinded, hunting a red-skinned four-armed beast. During the hunt, he was stabbed in the face, losing an eye and a mandible. Ahab wouldn't be beaten, however, his skill far surpassing the brutality of this creature, and he killed the beast, ripping out his spine as a trophy. Upon killing the creature, Ahab discovered a cave painting, near identical to the ones Elizabeth Shaw and Charlie Holloway found, depicting his greatest foe, the Engineers. Flash forward 100 years, Ahab's tribe are hunting on a distant jungle-like planet. Whilst there, they detect the Geryon and potentially signs of combat aboard. Concluding their hunt on the planet, the tribe set a course to the Geryon, intent on continuing the hunt. While aboard the Geryon, Ahab generated a hologram of the crew and their actions, showing Galgo pointing an engineer rifle at Francis. The sight of the rifle and what it meant sent Ahab wild. He attempted to grab the hologram, lost in his excitement. He was one step closer to finding his greatest prey yet, an engineer. Whilst tracking Galgo through the ship, Ahab made his way to the Perseus, just prior to Galgo detaching it from the Geryon and fleeing the conflict. Galgo would be alerted to Ahab's presence when the computer began picking up a stowaway. Opting for reinforcements, Galgo woke two mercenaries from hypersleep, Piper and Higgins. Piper was the first to come into contact with Ahab, attacking him with a stun baton, but Ahab simply shot him, killing him instantly with his powerful plasma caster. Galgo and Higgins, noticing their comrade was down, tried setting a trap for their stowaway. Heading to the airlock where they had detected Ahab last, Galgo, betraying his friend and locking him inside, opened the airlock and believing he had sent Higgins and the Yautja out into space. Ahab, an elder predator, is not so easily killed however, and he was in fact above Galgo, jumping down and setting on his human prey, shooting out a neck gun and trapping him. Ready to accept death at the hands of this killer alien, Galgo, shocked and surprised as Ahab slashed through the net and released him, grabbing the engineer rifle, pushing him to one side and proceeding to show Galgo the hologram of an engineer, gesturing that he wanted to find one. Striking a bargain, Galgo set off to LV-223, leading Ahab to the last known location of the engineers he had waited so long to hunt. Whilst on LV-223, Galgo and Ahab travelled through the jungles and into caves, spending the night by a fire created by Ahab's plasma caster, continuing with daylight into the deep jungles in search of Ahab's prey. Coming face to face with an engineer, a stroke of luck, and Ahab, finally, after all these years, had found his ultimate prey. Galgo, intent on staying alive, fled, running in cowardice, leaving Ahab to face the monstrous humanoid alone. As strong and as skilled as Ahab is, the engineer overpowers him, breaking his arm and leg. Knowing the battle was lost, Ahab began to retreat, heading back to the Perseus, but the engineer, enraged and hot on his tails, was fast approaching. Trying to turn the tide of the battle with one last idea, Ahab shot the engineer with a harpoon, managing to land and impale the imposing figure in the chest. Amazingly, the engineer simply rips it out and approaches Ahab to finish him. Ahab wasn't alone though, and Galgo returned, shooting the engineer in the chest just seconds before he killed his former captor. The blast from the engineer rifle Galgo used hit the chest wound and inflicted enough damage for Ahab to then set his self-destruct device and escape. The device detonating and the Perseus exploding, Ahab finally victorious over his long-revered prey, the engineer. Once the dust settled, Ahab began searching through the wreckage. Galgo, now confused, as if Ahab assumed the engineer still lived. Ahab, finding the engineer's corpse, ripped the skull and spinal column, claiming his trophy and his triumph over the humanoid. So there's a little more to Ahab's story, but this is where his hunt for the engineers finished. If you want to check out the rest, then I definitely recommend picking up Fire and Stone compilation in hardback. The story itself splits fans, but the artwork is awesome, and you may be one of those that enjoy the story. The fight between the Engineer and Ahab is an awesome idea. It's incredible to see just how strong and resilient these humanoids are. The Yautja, though we know them to be imposing and formidable in their own right, stand no chance against an Engineer. Ahab, a seasoned veteran, an elder, even he with all his experience and skill couldn't best the Engineer's power and strength without aid. So if you've read Fire and Stone, I would be keen to hear your thoughts. Do you think a Predator could win one-on-one with an Engineer? Ahab was at an instant disadvantage due to stumbling across the Engineer. However, the sheer strength and resilience could still pose to be the winning factor. If you haven't read Fire and Stone, has this inspired you to pick it up and check it out? Let me know what you think down below in the comment section, and if you did enjoy this video, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for more in the future. If you think this video is worth it and you want to support the channel, then please head on over to my Patreon page, the link is in the description box. I've been Mr. H, and until next time, I'll catch you in the comment section.